Today we're going to be installing garage door brushes.
Seriously, I just had it.
Ever since upgrading my in-floor heat unit to natural gas in the effort to be more efficient as far as my utilities are concerned, I noticed that a lot of my heat loss is going straight out of the gaps in my garage doors. Now what I'm talking about is where the garage door meets the building. On the front side, you have a little weather strip there, but I can put my hand up to that gap and I can feel the cold air coming in from outside. So in an effort to seal that off, I'm going to be installing a brush kit alongside the garage doors themselves. The kit that I purchased is actually made for doors, and they are 39 inches long and 3-inch brushes. They're made to mount like this on the bottom side of a door just to seal the gap to prevent any cold or hot air from going either direction. I'll post a link in the description for these. I got them on Amazon and they come in a 10-pack. In order to make these work, I'm going to need to cut these to length, being that my garage doors are in 2-foot sections. I'm going to cut this at 23 3/4 and then crimp the sides down, then get a measurement between the garage door and the building itself, and then trim this to fit. The tools that you'll need to complete this project are a hacksaw, an impact drill, or a Phillips head screwdriver, a drill with a drill bit big enough to drill an extra hole or two into your hardware here and fit the screws through, a small drill bit to drill a pilot hole for those screws, a pair of vice grips, really good pair of scissors, or a multi-cutting tool with a razor blade on it. My mother got me these. Thanks, Mom. These work great for cutting the brushes off. You'll probably have a harder time with a pair of scissors and a pair of side cutters, and of course the kit itself. I started out by cutting my mounting strip to 23 3/4 inches, and I'm just gonna mark where I need to make my cut. Now I can take my side cutters and cut that to length. Next, using a drill, I'm gonna drill a hole right here for the hardware to attach it to the garage door itself. The next step for me is gonna be to take my mounting hardware, tuck it down in, making sure that the back side of this mounting hardware is flush with the back side of the door, and then get a measurement from where the brush starts to the wall, top and bottom, and then I can strike a line on my brush and cut the brushes to fit. Something to keep in mind is most garage doors will have a little bit of lateral play in them, and what I mean by that is if you pull it back away from the wall, you'll have a little bit of wiggle room there. So when you take your measurements, you want to make sure that it's back as far as you can go so that you get good contact between the brush and the wall. Something else to keep in mind is most garage door railings will taper in towards the wall as they go down. So the further up you go, the further away the track comes from the wall itself. So you'll want to measure these individually and not measure them all at once and cut them all at once. You'll want to do these one door section at a time. Now that I had my measurements, I had about 3/4 of an inch on the bottom and close to an inch on the top. I marked those using a silver Sharpie because that'll actually show up on this black. I'm gonna use an extra piece of hardware here just so that I can draw a line across those and then make my cut on the brush so that it'll fit perfectly against the wall. Next, I'm gonna use my multi-tool to cut along this line. I'm actually gonna do that over a garbage can because these bristles are gonna fly everywhere. But once I make my cuts, it'll get me my taper to fit the wall perfectly. Now that I have my brushes cut, I'm just gonna slide this in here, and using a pair of vice grips, I'm going to crimp either end so that the brush can't leave the chat. And then I'm gonna crimp a couple of spaces in the bottom side just to make sure that as you open the garage door, this brush doesn't go anywhere. At this point, I'm ready to install this on the garage door. So what I'm going to do is set it in place, mark my holes on the garage door, drill some pilot holes, and then install the hardware. I'm gonna do this with the garage door closed so that I know where my spacing is against the wall, and then I will open the garage door to drill the holes and actually mount it so that it's not in the way of the garage door railing. Here's a quick shot of the brush installed. Before I had a really big gap and you could actually see daylight through it, and now I can't see anything. If I put my hand up here, I can actually feel the cold air coming in between the door and the wall, but down here I can't feel anything. So that's just kind of the goal, is to make things more thermally efficient. I'm sure I was losing a lot of hot air in the wintertime and a lot of cold air from the air conditioner in the summertime. So installing these brushes is sure gonna make a difference in my utility bills. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you got something out of the video. If you did, please consider subscribing and supporting the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Yes, Garage, you will be thermally efficient.